was to match the San Ynez mission. So the mission, that's the old Spanish church. It's located about 5 blocks down this way, just past a road called Alisal. But the mission was built in 1804. And since it was the only building or landmark in the area, the Danish wanted to match everything to it. And then eventually what happened was in 1947, a magazine called the Saturday Evening Post wrote an article about Solvang, calling it the Little Denmark of America. They said if you want to get a piece of a Danish town, just come out to Solvang. So that article, that's what got the ball rolling for the tourism. When they arrived here, because there was no Danish architecture. There's Danish people, but all the architecture was Spanish or American. So that's when they decided to remodel the town to look more Danish and Scandinavian. Now, most of the stores and restaurants you're going to find on either Copenhagen, Mission, or Alisal, which is the last street down that way. So that's pretty much the main drag of the town. Any direction you go away from these streets, it starts being residential right away. So most of the surrounding area is suburbs. Now on your left side here on the corner, there's a little shopping center here. There's a store in there called the Solvang Spice Merchant. They do a bunch of imported and rare spices, herbs, and teas. But if you go to the Spice Merchant, let them know you rode the trolley, same thing, they'll give you a discount. I guess we're stuck here. There's a lot of traffic today, so. Oh yeah, if you look at some of the rooftops here, people always comment on this. They always ask about, on the rooftops, there's these wooden pegs that crisscross like that. It looks like X's on the roof. That's actually, it has to do with the Danish superstition. The Danish believe that if you put, it's called cross-hatching. If you put those crosses on the roof, it wards off evil spirits. So it prevents bad luck. So like if you see the hotel over here on the left, it's got the wooden crosses on the top. This is where you get to see how good of a driver Jenny is. Now on your right side here, we have the Solvang Trolley Ice Cream Parlor. Same thing, you get a discount there. So if you want ice cream, fruit smoothies, or even if you want to get hot chocolate or coffee, you can use your discount on any of the items there. I know it's kind of warm for coffee, but even if you're here tonight, later on, when it gets colder, you can use the tickets later on. Then on your left side here, we have First Street Leather. This is a real authentic leather shop. They do a ton of handmade items, everything from bags to belts, boots, hats, jackets. They even do jewelry there. But like I said, a lot of it's handmade, so you find some pretty unique items in that store. Sadly, they don't give a discount with the trolley, sorry. A lot of people ask about the leather shop, right? Then on your left side here, we have the Solvang Festival Theater, and this is where we show live performances during the summer. So from mid-June to about early September, we usually show Broadway-style plays here about 4 to 5 nights a week. This summer, they were actually closed for a long time. The theater was closed for over a year, so they just recently reopened. For a second, I thought we were going to have to pull over for the fire truck. Yeah, so this summer, they're going to have live music until the end of this month, until the end of July. And then from, I believe, July 21st until mid-August, they're going to be doing a couple musicals there. But usually they do like 5 or 6 different plays there throughout the summer. Well, like I said, they opened kind of late, and they were closed down for a really long time. So. But yeah, like I said, they do Broadway-style plays there. They've done the classics like Fiddler on the Roof and Oklahoma. But then they've also done newer plays such as Monty Python's Spamalot, In the Heights, and then a couple years ago they did the Addams Family musical. Now as we go down this street, you'll notice that the architecture starts to look different. That's because we're going more into the residential area. And there are certain rules to the architecture. If you build anything near the downtown, it has to have either a Scandinavian or Northern European look to it. But as you go through the neighborhoods, you'll see more American-style homes, more modern-style homes. And you'll still see some Spanish architecture throughout Solvang. The Spanish houses are kind of few and far apart, but I'll point them out as we pass by. And just so you know, you don't have to be Danish to live here. Anyone can move into Solvang. In fact, nowadays, only 10% of the population is Danish. So we have 5,200 people, only about 500 are of Danish descent. People always ask me though, well, where did the Danish all go? Why did they all leave? And it's not that they left, it's just over the years, new people kept moving in. Because when Solvang started, you only had about 80 Danish settlers. Nowadays, you have about 500 Danish people in town. Most of those 500 are either related to or connected to the original families in some way. Not all of them are fully Danish, though. You'll meet a lot of people out here who are, half Danish, half Italian, half Danish, half Mexican. A lot of people ask me if I'm Danish, because of my blonde hair and my blue eyes. I'm sure. Actually, my dad is half Welsh, Irish, and half Filipino, and then my mom is Belgian. So I always tell people I'm more related to the horses than anything else in town. Yeah, and a lot of people ask about the real estate out here, the property value. It's kind of expensive nowadays. I would compare the prices here. They're very similar to like certain parts of Los Angeles County. Your average 3-4 bedroom house is usually going to range somewhere between about $800,000 up to about $1 million. But I'll get people that visit here from San Francisco, and they'll say, oh, $1 million for a house, that's a good deal. But then I get people that will visit from like certain parts of Texas or Arizona, and they tell me where they're from, you could buy like a mansion for $1 million. Now down the street on your left here, we have the Everhoy Museum. This is Solvang's historical museum, and it's also dedicated to Danish culture and art. Now they should be open today until about 5, so by the time the tour is over, they're probably going to be closed up. But again, if you're back here tomorrow, they usually open around 10 or 11. Now we're going to do another U-turn coming up here, so you'll get to see the horses do their little side step again. Here, Claire. So yeah, if you watch Claire on the left side, a lot of people say it looks like she's doing a little dance or shuffle.
是这边是一个店吗？等了，这边他是推荐一个店给我们，
刚才没听到。
他可能是要推荐这个店给我们。
这是一个博物馆。
对。
Stella have an interesting story. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but they're actually mother and daughter. So Claire's the mom, and they're originally from Colorado. They were brought here about 12 years ago. This is when Stella was a baby horse. But they were brought here from Colorado to be sold to a ranch in San Ynez. Now, the ranch that was supposed to buy them didn't want Claire. They didn't want the mother. They only wanted Stella. So they got separated at that point. And after they got separated, the trolley ended up buying Claire. But then about 1.5 years later, the ranch that bought Stella contacted us and said, hey, we got this big Belgian horse. We can't train her. She's too crazy for us. Do you guys want her? And we were hesitant at first. We said, well, if you can't train her, we don't know if we want her. But then we found out it was Claire's daughter. So we decided, well, we already have the mother horse, we might as well buy the daughter too, right? And Stella was kind of crazy when we first got her, but as soon as we paired her up with Claire, her personality completely changed. So all she needed was her mom. And people ask me too, how was Stella crazy before? Why couldn't her previous owners train her? The thing with Stella is she's a very big, strong horse. She's one of the biggest horses we have. So she has a bad habit of pushing around other horses. She's kind of a bully. But she won't do that with Claire. She knows Claire's mom and mama's boss. But yeah, we actually have 10 horses altogether. It's just 2 of them are smaller riding horses. So we only have 8 of the big Belgians. But the horses altogether are Stella, Claire, Andy, Mary, Bella, Ginger, Poncho, Juanita, T-Soak, and Chiquillo. And a lot of people ask, well, or they'll say, wait, these are Belgian horses in a Danish town. why do so many of them have Spanish names? And the reason why is because the owner of the trolley, the owner of the horses, his name's Sal. He's from Mexico, so he speaks Spanish. So he names a lot of his horses, he gives a lot of them Spanish names. Actually, Sal, he's like a real horseman, because Sal comes from a Charro family, so he's been working with like horses since the day he was born. Now on your right side here on the corner, we have the fire department, and then the other side of the building is the municipal center. This is like our city hall. This is where our city council meets every couple of weeks. And so we have all the necessities for the locals. You know, we have a fire department, police station, hospital, library, post office. The only thing we don't have here in Solvang is a high school. So we have an elementary and a middle school, but the closest public high school is in the next town over in San Ynez. So pretty much everybody in the valley here, whether they live in Buellton or Los Olivos, they end up going to high school in the town of San Ynez. Yeah, but even though everybody goes to one location, San Ynez High School only gets anywhere between about 800 to 1,000 students a year. Now coming up on your left side here on the corner, we have this little Spanish house. This house was actually built in the early 1920s. But this was the Spanish architecture that they built to match the mission. And this house is still owned by the same family. They just passed it down from generation to generation. And you'll see that a lot with the older houses and the older businesses in town, where a lot of them are still owned by the original families. Also, you might have noticed here in Solvang, there's not too many franchises. There's a few. There's like a Domino's, Rite Aid, CVS, and Subway. But a few years ago, the city passed a rule where you can't open any more franchises here. So you're never going to see a Starbucks. You're never going to see a McDonald's here. Everything else is going to remain small family-owned businesses. Like right now, our main grocery store in town, it's called Valley Fresh. But up until a year and a half ago, Valley Fresh was the Nielsen's grocery store, which started in 1911. So that was our main grocery store for over 100 years. Now coming up on your right side, we have this little house, not the blue one, but the next little house over, that white one. That house was built in 1912. So it's one of the oldest houses in town, and this style of architecture is called a California craftsman. So that was the American style that the Danish settlers built in when they started Solvang. And it used to be you could order the craftsman houses out of the Sears catalog, and they would just ship you all the parts and all the lumber. You put it together yourself. So that's what's known as a prefabricated house or a catalog home. Yeah, I used to be able to order them from Sears. He's just following, listening. He's just listening to the tour. Then on your right side here, we have Solvang Knives. This is a very popular place. A lot of people who visit here, the first thing they ask me is, where's the little knife shop in town? So it's right here. They have a bunch of like pocket knives, work knives. They do engravings there. But if you go to the knife store, let them know you run the trolley. They'll give you a discount there too. Now, this is Copenhagen. This was originally called Main Street. It was the first street built in Solvang. So this has always been the downtown area. But when Solvang started, you only had about 6 buildings here. They were all Spanish and American architecture. This was all dirt roads. And instead of parking spaces, the businesses had hitching posts. That's a wood post where you would tie your horse up. So it was literally a little cowboy town in the beginning. Yeah, from the 1800s to the early 1900s, if you wanted to go from Santa Barbara up here to San Ynez Valley, you had to take a stagecoach or like a big horse wagon, and the stagecoaches would leave Santa Barbara at about 8, 9 in the morning, and then they would arrive here about 7 o'clock at night. Now it takes, 40 minutes to get here from Santa Barbara. Now over here we have the little park area. So if you end up getting, either food to go somewhere or you get some baked goods or ice cream and you want to find somewhere to sit down, they have benches and tables here at the little park. Now, if you have kids with you and you're looking for like a bigger park to go to take the kids, there's one nearby, but you have to drive there. It's about 2 miles away. There's a park called the Sunny Fields Park. So if you look it up on Google, you should be able to find it and use your GPS. But the Sunny Fields Park, it looks like a bunch of like little castles. So a lot of kids like to go over there. Oh yeah, this is one of my favorite buildings here on the right. If you look at this green balcony, those are dragon heads carved into the bottom of the balcony. And that's one of my favorite things about Solvang is even though it's a small town, there's lots of little details in the art and the architecture that you don't really see in a lot of modern cities. Now, if you cut through this parking lot ahead of us, it leads to the San Ynez Mission. So if you're looking for historical buildings, the mission's over 200 years old. So if you look down your left side, there's that little doorway. You just go through that door and you're at the mission. And then we just started passing by Burkholm's Bakery. Burkholm's is actually the oldest bakery in Solvang. They've been around since 1951, and it's been ran by the same family since the beginning. So it's 3 generations of bakers. Then if you want to try the Danish food, down your right side here, there's the Red Viking. It's the red building down there. And they do traditional Danish food. They do the smorgasbord there, which is the Danish buffet. But right now, they're offering a discount with your trolley ride. So same thing there. If you go there, let them know you rode the trolley, they'll give you a discount. Now, you might have noticed around the town, on the sides of a lot of buildings, there's these little houses. Like if you look to your right here, there's a little house right there under the roof of that building. Little beige and brown house. Or there's another one, if you see the FA 805 sign, look above the FA 805 sign, there's another little house right there. Now, most people think those are bird houses, but they're not. They're actually for the gnomes, for the little people. So, in Denmark, if say your keys, your wallet, your socks, anything small went missing, that meant little people got into your house and they stole from you. So what you would do is build a house for them to live in, put food and water off of them, and as long as they were happy, they wouldn't steal from you anymore. Now, we call them gnomes, but in Denmark, they were actually called the Nisse. It's spelled N-I-S-S-E. We just say gnomes because there's no English word for it, but a lot of cultures have similar stories to this. So in Denmark, you have the Nisse. In Ireland, you have leprechauns. Other parts of Europe, you have nixies, pixies, gnomes, and elves. In both the Philippines and Mexico, you have duendes. And then in Hawaii, they have little people called the menihune. And the menihune, you build houses for them, and they bring you good luck. So I always say, if every culture believes in it, it must be true, right? Now, if you look up old Danish art of the Nisse, they look like what most of us think of as gnomes. They're little guys with pointed hats and big beards. Now, this is Alisal Road right here. You can actually take Alisal out to the 101 freeway. So if you're going southbound on the 101, you want to take more of the scenic route. This passes by Alisal Ranch, which is a historic cowboy ranch now turned into a resort, and it also passes by Nahoe Falls, which is our local waterfall. Just to give you a heads up though, I don't think there's any water in the waterfall right now. So it's still a nice little walk up to the waterfall, but there's no water. This is a very dry area. One of our biggest problems out here is we get a lot of droughts. So if you ever come back here and you want to see the waterfall, the best time to see it is from like the end of December through March. That's when we get the most rain out here. Now, another place to check out that we won't actually pass by is the Hans Christian Andersen Museum. So Hans Christian Andersen, he's the Danish writer who wrote The Little Mermaid. Yeah, Hans Christian Andersen wrote The Little Mermaid, Thumbelina, and The Ugly Duckling. He's one of the most famous people to come out of Denmark. Sorry about that. Yeah, Yeah, so Hans Christian Andersen, he's one of the most famous people to come out of Denmark. Sorry, we get a lot of crazy drivers out here. Yeah, so the Hans Christian Andersen Museum, it's over near the corner of First and Mission. It's inside the bookstore. It's called the Book Loft. So just remember that Hans Christian Andersen's a writer, so his bookstores or his museum's on the top floor of the bookstore. Hans Christian Andersen also wrote The Ice Queen, which Disney turned into the movie Frozen. And in the movie Frozen, some of the main characters' names are Hans, Kristoff, Anna, and Sven. So if you put those names together, it sounds like Hans Christian Andersen. So that was their little way of paying tribute to the record. Now, a lot of things close early here in Solvang. A lot of the gift shops, souvenir shops, they're going to close around 5:30, so for the next hour. Restaurants will usually be open until about 8, and then bakeries and ice cream parlors usually close around 7. So after the tour, if there's a specific gift shop or clothes store you want to check out, make sure you go there right after the tour, get your shopping done early in the day. Then you want to get all your baked goods, your ice cream, your chocolates, and then you want to get dinner. So it's okay to get dessert before you get dinner. And then don't forget, with your trolley tickets, you get discounts at either Olson's Bakery, the Solvang Spice Merchant, the Solvang Trolley Ice Cream Parlor, the Solvang Knife Store, Burkholm's Bakery, and the Red Viking. I know it's a lot to remember, but if later in the day you're like, oh, where do we get discounts at? You can always come back to us and ask us about any of the places we mentioned. Or even if you just need directions in general, you can always come back and talk to us. And right now, me and Jenny, we have a bet going on with the other drivers and tour guides. We have a bet to see who can make the most tips. So if you want to help us win that bet. All right, thank you very much for riding with us. I hope you enjoyed it. All right, hey guys, you want to be on the other side of the chain just because it's dangerous to be by the horses there.